So, prose poetry. Let's get into it. Back to the channel. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk to you guys about the difference between prose poetry and spoken word. And before we get into it, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to start by saying I have scripted this video, but due to guys, welcome back to the channel. And tonight, y'all, I want to break down the difference between prose poetry and spoken word. Now, before we get into all that, I would just want to give a major shout out to all the new subscribers to the channel. And if you're new here and you haven't subscribed, and if you're a big fan of poetry, feel free to check out the channel. I have all kind of poetry content, from poetry performances, poetry reviews, and if you're into comedy, I got comedy skits as well. It's a double win, so you might as well do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button, smash that like button. It really helps me out. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we just gonna get into it. So, what is prose poetry? Prose poetry is, I have to turn down my mic, sorry guys. Prose poetry is a poem written in prose, meaning a poem with the same impact as spoken word, sonnet, ballad, ode, without, the rhyming part. It has the same impact, it has the same compactness, it has the same, passionate drive, it has the same expressive nature. Only thing it lacks is, rhyme. Or it might rhyme every other line. That's literally the only thing, guys. Now, I wrote up a script to read out throughout the video, but I had to constantly go in and edit the script so often. I just didn't want to, redo it and delay the video another day. Sidebar, the reason why this video took me so long, honestly, ladies and gentlemen, is because of the fact that work. I'm gonna be honest, I just had to tell the truth, y'all. Work. I work a lot, 5 days a week, and that does kind of do negative things for my upload schedule. Sometimes I hate that job. I'm not even going to lie, ladies and gentlemen. It's a blessing to have a job. It really is. And I'm blessed to have a job. But it takes up so much of my time. And I like the fact that when I was part-time, I had the freedom to do content creation, podcast, spend time with my family, and work. It's all about time management. But anyway, that's another topic for another video. But anyway, the difference between prose poetry. What's the difference between prose poetry and spoken word? Well, a poem written in prose has the same type of lyrical layout, the same compactness, the same intensity, the same passionate drive, the same creativity. It just lacks rhyme. That's all there is. Now, I would have had this video out for you guys about a week ago, but due to the fact that work gets so hectic, and yes, I do work 5 days a week, so that kind of negatively impacts my upload schedule, and I do apologize about that, ladies and gentlemen. But at the same time, I just really wanted to get on here and, what's the difference? So, what's the difference between prose poetry and spoken word? Well, what's the difference between spoken word, an ode, a sonnet, a ballad, or a limerick? Not much, really. It's all about the lyrical layout between the different types and subtypes of poetry. But where prose sticks out, it has the same compact, it has the same intensity, it has the same drive, it has the same creativity. It just lacks rhyme. Now, I do have one poetry piece that I will be performing. I can't talk today. I have one poetry piece I will be performing on the podcast called A Night Drive. It's technically a detailed poem describing a late night drive to the corner store, the convenience store, while listening to music in deep thought. Have you ever seen those lo-fi channels, ladies and gentlemen, that has a cartoon character driving at night, and the backdrop is the night sky with all the stars and all that? Well, that's what this poetry piece technically is. And not to go into too much detail, because like I said, it's brand new, I don't want to leak it. It's written all in prose. It's written all in prose. Can you write a beautiful poetry piece in prose? Yes, you can. You can write spectacular poetry in prose. It doesn't always have to rhyme. See, people make the mistake, I believe, thinking that poetry always has to rhyme. When in actuality, poetry is beautiful as it is, whether it rhymes or it doesn't. If you write a ballad, you're writing poetry. I, didn't always be this smooth. I had to really switch it up to be a different kind of dude. You know what I mean? I didn't always perform that way. There were some days I would just read the poetry piece like this here, and I'd just keep going on and on and on and on and on, and then this word, it says this and this, and I would just read like that. I would just read like that. It sounded so chaotic. It sounded like so much calamity the way I used to read. But the longer I stayed in poetry, the longer I constantly wrote more and more poems, the more I studied the genre of poetry, I came to learn, wait a minute, maybe a pause here would help. Maybe a pause there would help. Maybe writing a little different would help. Maybe presenting a little different would help. And I stumbled across prose poetry on YouTube. And it was something very different than what I was used to. I clicked on one of the videos, and it was on the Button Poetry YouTube channel. And I clicked on it, and then I was just lost. I was taken back. I couldn't make out what I was hearing. Not that it sounded confusing, not that it sounded, like something I wasn't interested in. It just was a little different. And when it comes to poems, poetry, life in general, you can't be afraid to just have a little individuality. You know what I mean? Your individuality is what helps spurs your ingenuity and your creativity as an artist, whether you're a rapper, a singer, you're a poet, street performer, whatever it is that you are. Having a little individuality really sets you apart from the rest of the crowd. And that's what prose poetry really is. I lost train of thought. Sorry, guys. I heard the Canadian geese flying overhead and kind of lost train of thought. But anyway, let me get back to it. That's all it really is individuality. And finding your comfort level in that individuality. Is prose a little more, intermediate? Next level? Yes, it is. For intermediate poets, expert poets, you could be a beginner and still write good prose poetry, but to have a full meaning of the concept of prose, you have to be doing this for quite some time. Heck, I've been doing this since I was 11, and I'm still learning, ladies and gentlemen. I don't consider myself an expert yet. I don't even consider myself intermediate yet. I'm still just a beginner. And hey, I'm being honest with you. I'm being all the way real as I possibly can. But prose is indeed a beautiful genre. Honestly, I don't think that prose poetry is really that bad. I'm actually looking forward to writing a few more pieces in prose. And I say that to say a lot of the poetry pieces I write, they rhyme in full detail, you know what I mean? They're expressive, they're creative, and they're laid out as spoken word poetry, i.e. lyrical poetry. And writing that one poetry piece, A Night Drive, it was just a breath of fresh air because I felt like I was just, going down that road of monotony. I was getting bored with it. I was getting, to the point where it felt routine. And if I use the word wrong, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long day at work. Bear with me. But anyway, I felt like it became routine. Like I was no longer having fun with it. And when you get to that point, you just kind of fade off from doing it. Like how most people who do podcasts, life happens, they get busy, and then they start to fade off. A lot of the fans of my poetry, a lot of the fans of my podcast thought I faded off. When in actuality, I was focusing on many different avenues besides just my podcast. Pod fade is when you don't have a social media presence. You don't have a podcast presence. You're not online anymore, and people forget who you are. You fade into obscurity. So, I decided, to break from the monotony. I felt like my whole life was in park, when in actuality, I was just bored of consistently writing spoken word poetry. Don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of it. I'm a spoken word artist. But I'm just needing something fresh. And Prose offers that. I can be lyrical. I can be impactful. I can be, I could write long poetry pieces or compact poetry pieces. I could be expressive. Yet I don't have to have it rhyme all the time. I could tell you a whole story in a poem written in prose. And it can still deliver that same impact that I intended it to. Now, am I just having fun with, this genre of poetry? Yes. Yes. Am I an expert on any type of poems, prose, ode, ballad, sonnets, or anything like that? No, I'm not. Like I said, I'm a beginner, but I have somewhat of an understanding. I'm starting to grasp the concept of prose. So, whatever I learn, I like to lay it on you guys so you guys can also learn. I don't like to be that individual where I learned something, right? I learned something major. I have friends, family, fans who are into this same genre of art that I am. And I keep it to myself. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with being a wise man. A wise man doesn't always have to speak. But this is knowledge. So I thought to myself, hey, I should pass this along. So, there you go. That's the only difference between spoken word, ode, sonnet, and prose. Now, prose allows you to be a little more creative. In fact, you actually do have to be more creative because that lack of rhyming. You gain an audience with your poetry piece, right? You reel them in with the first few lines. Then it's about your flow, your deliverance, your cadence, your lyricism. And when they come to find out, they look for the rhyme. They're like, hold on, he's saying this line or she's saying this line. And what are they going to say next? What they saying say? Are they going to say day? Time. Are they going to say life? For example, a man. Are they going to say sand? No. You keep them holding on to your every word when you perform prose poetry. And I think it's just very beautiful, honestly. In my opinion. And it's just all a matter of perspective. If you prefer lyrical poetry, you prefer lyrical poetry. If you like prose, you like prose. If you like odes, sonnets, ballads, limericks, then that's just what you're into. I just thought I'd break down something to give you a little bit of an understanding on how prose poetry works. Now, before I end this video, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to give a major shout out to all the new subscribers to the channel. I know, I was supposed to have this video out last Friday. But, hold on guys, the lights went out. Hold on guys. Sorry about that little technical issue. The lights went out due to the fact that I have everything really, hold on, I'm going to show you guys. I have everything linked up to my laptop right here. I have my microphone, as you can tell. And it is a Zoom, what is it? I have it right here. Give me a sec here. This is a Zoom 2. I have a Zoom 2 microphone, cardioid, of course. I said of course. I can't talk today. It's been a long day at work, ladies and gentlemen. This is a cardioid Zoom 2 mic. I have a tripod by Sunpack. I got it at Best Buy. I got the Zoom 2 mic also at Best Buy. As you can tell, I got my light. I got my laptop right here. I have my microphone, and of course I'm using my Android device. So bear with me while I set everything back up. Hold on guys, hold on, I'll be right back. So that's the reason why I have everything set up the way I do, and that's why the power went out. I do apologize. I just wanted to say thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. And if you're new here, I have all kind of poetry content on this channel, from poetry performances, poetry instrumentals, poetry reviews. Also, if you into comedy, I have comedy skits as well. I know I haven't done skits in a while, and that's due to my work schedule, and I do apologize about that, but I definitely got you guys this weekend. So look out for a few of those as well. I have some coming probably by tomorrow, and I'll have some by Monday or Tuesday. So make sure you look out for that, and it's going to be on TikTok and all that good stuff. But anyway, yeah, I just thought I'd get on here and break down the meaning between prose poetry, spoken word, and other formats of poetry. Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys for rocking with me and just being patient with me. I know I hit the ground running this year. It was a brand new video every day. And that was due to the fact that I didn't have this job that I have now. You see, being a content creator and working a full-time job can really, can really conflict with the scheduling of everything. My uncle, he raised me and my brothers to really have perfect time management. Meaning, there was time for my job, there was time for my family, there was time for myself, and there was time to, spend with the Most High God. You know what I mean? And I usually start that at the beginning of the day and before I go to bed at night. So the Lord has 2 time slots, on a busy scheduled day. And on a day I have nothing to do, I'm reading my word after I pray, you know what I mean? Maybe an hour a day, fasting from time to time, praying a lot, most definitely throughout the day, getting into different scripture and, going to church and all that good stuff, and just staying in the word, staying soaked in the word of God. That's how I spend my weekends. Now, the issue I'm having with my job is it's supposed to be a part-time job, yet they have me on a full-time schedule. So where that conflicts with being a content creator is usually I would upload on the weekdays when my kids are in school. So the issue became, okay, now I'm at work while they're at school. And when I get off of work, they're home and they usually have their friends over. So I have to go to a quiet place. You know what I mean? Most content creators who are parents understand this as basic knowledge, but the issue became I was at my job more than I was at home. I was at my job more than I was able to write poetry. I was working more than I was able to upload any content to my YouTube channel. I started working more often than being able to podcast anything. That's why I gave you guys bits and pieces here, bits and pieces there, because I wanted to give you guys something. You know what I mean? I didn't want to leave you guys hanging at all. I did not want to leave you guys on the dry side. Hold on, I'm gonna switch this right here. I don't like this lighting. This lighting kind of sucks, but anyway, I wanted to give you guys something. I wanted to give you guys some content because you guys deserve it. You know what I mean? You've been rocking with me through the hiatus. You rock with me through my recent hiatus, which is only about 6 days. But still, I don't know. Some days I just want to take a step back from my job, but there's a lot at risk when you're a content creator. I seen a video last night by a gentleman, and he's been in the game for about 10, 12 years. You know, maybe even longer than that. But he broke down how being a content creator is not as easy as most people would make it out to be. When you work a 9 to 5, you have a guaranteed paycheck. Whether it's a short week, a long week, you know what to expect on your paycheck. Being a YouTuber, being a podcaster, you don't know what each check is going to entail, big or small. And you just gotta, make plans off of that on whatever it is that you make, so that's why I really don't do it for the money. I do it because I enjoy it. I'm passionate about it. I love to do this. Now, will I start podcasting more often? I'm going to be doing YouTube full time. Well, on my days off, that is. So it's part-time because I work a part-time job. But anyway, to me, in my eyes, I'll be doing YouTube full-time. I'll also try to squeeze in podcast episodes, most definitely. Like I said in a previous podcast episode, my most recent one, the reason for the name change, which was, January 1st, episode. But anyway, I broke down the fact that I'll no longer be doing relationship, content on there because the market really is oversaturated with relationship podcasts. And while I don't mind talking and discussing and listening to people who are relationship coaches, marriage doctors, marriage counselors and love doctors, how they would say, having their input, their perspective, their advice for the listeners. I don't mind any of that stuff. But I started to lose sight, slowly but surely. It started to become more and more about relationships and poetry. And while, relationships are important indeed, I just think that I want to get back to the basics. I want to focus more, like I do on this channel. I want to focus more on on poetry on my podcast. So that's why I changed it from the Poets World podcast to the Poets Space podcast, because universally, podcast. Hold on, guys. Universally, poetry is for everyone. It's not some esoteric type of genre that's meant for one in particular group of people, how you would say. So, hold on, guys. I'm gonna drink some water. So, with that being said, I just wanted to share this podcast with every poet in the world, in the galaxy. You know what I mean? So that's why I changed the name to the Poets Space podcast. And I just wanted to be a safe space where poets can come to just express themselves, no matter what they're going through in life, share their poetry pieces that they've recently written or previously written, or tell their story of, why they continue to do poetry, or why they have stopped doing poetry, and why they have picked up on a new journey in poetry in their life. That's why I changed the name to the Poets Space podcast. And I will be dropping a podcast episode this weekend. And I think I need to vent a few words. You know, my bosses probably won't like me after this. I'm sorry to say it, but it's the truth. So make sure you look out for a brand new episode on the Poet Space podcast this weekend. And I just want to thank you guys for rocking with me, man. This has been quite... Hold on, y'all. This has been quite a journey, you know, since restarting this YouTube channel. It's it brings a feeling of joy to my heart, a great feeling of joy to my heart, and I've come a long way since my humble beginnings as a YouTuber and a podcaster and everything like that, and just being humbled by being able to make an episode like this. Because I remember there was a time when I didn't know anything about poetry. When I first started this channel, when I first started my when I first started my podcast, I knew absolutely nothing about this genre. And it wasn't until I started having guests on the podcast and people commenting in a lot of my videos and taking time to listen and sharing their feedback through the years, you know, that I started gaining an understanding of poetry and gaining a deeper respect for the genre of poetry. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a long enough video. I have dragged it out for so long. I know the lights cut off a couple times. That was the Lord saying, hey, it's time to wrap it up. You know, so anyway, I love you guys. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. And the mic falls over. All right, guys, peace.